we want to talk about this introvert, extrovert subject. I'm not sure the level of interest in that, but certainly it was a topic that is very interesting for me. Most topics I talk about is something I have read or listened to or somehow, and it inspired me to put the presentation around it. But introvert and extrovert subject has been in the background for many, many years. I remember in the early days, I was doing a lot of the outing and the selling and the partying and the all the receptions. And though I can do a fair job of all of these things, I would find them quite taxing. After I go out to a reception or everything goes extremely well except for me. I go home exhausted. And if it's a reception, I go home just want to switch off. My wife, who is maybe more of an extrovert, is all excited and want to talk about things and so on. And I'm thinking, I just want to switch off and forget about it and take a good night rest, and in the morning we'll talk. So I've often wondered, I didn't think in terms of introvert, extrovert, I just wonder why all these things aren't in my nature. As much as I love the interaction, learn from it, impart a lot of useful information, it leaves me a little bit sort of exhausted. So over the years, I've studied the subject and I collected information everywhere. And then I really landed on some clear understanding of what's what. And I thought it's a good subject for all of us to share, because a lot of us have maybe a misguided idea of what's an introvert, what's an extrovert, what's a shy person, what is a withdrawn person. And you might find some of the most outspoken people is an introvert, and you think, you have an impression that they are reclusive, they don't say much, etc. That's not really at the crux of the definition. So let's see if we can do this together, and I hope you have read a little bit. I've asked to check out JOMO and FOMO. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at those things so we don't start from absolute zero. So this first picture should be meaningful to some, strange to others. So if they forget to invite you to a gathering, some people think, oh, thank God for that, I escaped lightly this time. Some people think, what? How come, they feel really... So in terms of FOMO and JOMO, who can give us an idea? You've all looked at it. What does FOMO and JOMO means to you? So this is more for those who never really did look, so they can get a quick education. Don't let me...
FOMO is fear of missing out, and JOMO is joy of missing out. If I define FOMO, it is basically a negative feeling, which usually extroverts have. They don't occupy themselves with the things around them. They just try to put it in Instagram, just for that sake. But JOMO is more of living the actual moment itself. So the more of JOMO feeling you have, the more is better for you than FOMO.
Okay, Arfan, I'm glad you made the effort, but let me just amplify it a bit. FOMO, fear of missing out, is, let's say there is a meeting, a gathering, a party. You're afraid you're missing out something, you've been left out, and you are not in the know. You're not being considered, and you feel a little bit slighted, a little bit even sort of insecure. Why am I not in this? Has perception changed about me? So you get that fear of missing out because you really want to know in the know all the time. JOMO, which is more of an introvert function, is the joy of missing out. Think, I don't need to know. Usually, an introvert, we'll come to see later, is somebody who does most of their thinking reflection internally. They don't need too much third-party validation. So what they're meeting about and they left me out, good luck to them. I'm glad I wasn't invited, especially big reception, that sort of thing. So they are joyous that they've been forgotten. This is not true of extrovert. They get really insecure about that. And they always asking straight, what happened there? What was it about? Why wasn't I invited, etc. Rarely you hear that from an introvert. Usually they have a glee that they've been left out. Okay, so that should begin to set the scene of where we're going with this. As I am going through explaining, I'd like to get a feel because there is, at the moment, and at least for some of us, a bit of a negativity, a stigma of what is an introvert. And maybe I wouldn't like to say about myself, any one of you, that I'm an introvert. It's like saying I'm reclusive, I'm shy. But those are wrong labels. It is something else. It has nothing to do with being shy or reclusive or antisocial. But if I can only see some of you, if I can see a show of hand, how many of you think of themselves as extrovert? Don't tell me if you're introvert. But also saying I'm extrovert is by no means bragging. It's just like saying I am. Maybe you got dark hair, I've got light hair, or I've got curly hair, I've got straight hair. These are just part of human anatomy rather than I can be proud of it. I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert. Any on the call think they're extroverts? I've only got one so far that I can see. I'm sure there are many more. Giant, yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of you maybe don't want to put a label just yet, but I suspect there's a lot more extrovert than you willing to admit, because we will see the statistics tell us otherwise. Okay, so there are more than you think. How many, if you had to go, we have a population of, let's say 100, how many of them do you think will be extrovert? How many would be introverts? And we will come to see, and there is in between. It's not like black and white. Who can give me a number? But, how many percentage-wise would be introvert? How many extrovert? Come on, play with me so that it's fun interaction rather than me here in my dark room.
60-40?
60-40. 60 in favor of extrovert?
Introvert.
60 are introverted versus 40 extroverted. Okay, that's one statistic out of the hat. Who else can say something?
60-40.
60 extroverts?
Yes.
40 introvert. Okay, getting closer to the fact, but one more. Sridhar, you're looking with a lot of reflection. What do you think?
I think many people pretend to be extroverts. In that name, okay, I think there are more extroverts in this world than really introvert.
Actually, that is quite an interesting statement. That is because we've put a negative label on introvert as shy, withdrawn, antisocial. People push themselves to appear extrovert. With the results, it ends up being exhausting for them. So you do get that. But the reality is actually 70% are extroverts. And we will come to see extrovert is by no means, it's a sort of a label that to be proud of. There can be pluses, there can be minuses, just like with introverts. Okay, so If an introvert, whatever I'll be saying next about introvert, think on the other side, the extrovert could be the opposite side of that coin or closely opposite, which you may not like. So that, there is not something to brag about. I'm an extrovert. So at the moment, if you believe that that's a badge of honor, be careful. The other thing to say about it is it's genetic. It's a strange thing. It's not something you and I can do a lot about it. It's like if your color of your eyes is brown, it's brown. You can't encourage somebody to turn it into blue. If your hair is curly, well, maybe you can go and apply some chemicals and make it straight, but naturally it is curly. So that's another thing, which makes it also something that you can settle into. That is me. It's part of my makeup, and it's not a social conditioning thing. Okay? And always remember, it's not black and white. And you will find some of the features can apply this way, can apply that way. I just want to remind you, as we go all through these, isn't to become a psychological expert or analyst or anything. This affects us in day-to-day life, in interacting with others, but also in business. Really getting a good grip on, let's say, who's your customer? What do you think they are? And where you are. If let's say you clearly know your customer is an introvert, haranguing them and going to them every day where they really like their space and don't want too much interaction, you're not helping. You think you've been a good salesman or an executive, whatever, but you're not respecting their space. So that is important from one side. Your relationship with your colleagues, how they like to absorb information, etc. You have to understand all these things. And at the end of it, if you get a real grip on what we will share today, I hope you'll end up very comfortable in your own skin, whichever it is. It doesn't matter, as long as you're at peace with yourself. So we have an impression, and unfortunately, that's what makes people, as Sridhar said, pretend to be extroverts, because we think they're shy and withdrawn. That can be very far from the truth. Introverts don't have to be shy. Could be quite strongly outspoken when they have conviction of their opinion, theory, etc. If they don't, they may just not want to say anything. This one says extremely reclusive and introverted boy. You see, he's put a label. This is a fairly famous person, Robert Laughlin. I was introverted, extremely reclusive and introverted. That does not mean if you're reclusive, you're introverted. It could be interpreted wrongly, so it became a label. Antisocial. Join the antisocial club. No, introverted are not antisocial. They just operate differently. They like people, they want to be with people, but for a lesser time, maybe for a different reason than an extrovert. So let's start to look at those. And always, I might ask you to give me the opposite. What would an extrovert be like in that situation? So that's a first, if you like, mark of identifying. Usually, introverts don't like small talks. Why is that? So, G, what do you think? Why don't introvert? I haven't really judged you, and you haven't said anything about yourself. I don't know where you see yourself. Are you willing to tell us, or you think that's a private matter?
No, it's not private, Faiz. I think I am more towards an introvert personality. Whatever you said, it really connects with me. I don't like going to parties. If at all I go, I get easily exhausted. And I can't continue with this senseless chatter for for some reason. I feel ashamed of just keep talking without any sense. And I'm a bit shy person as well. Though I pretend to be very confident and smart, because when you are on a job, there are things you like to do, there are things that you have to do. So I wear a mask, cover my that shyness or whatever as much as possible. But at the core, I am a shy and introvert person.
Okay, well, that was a lot more candid than we bargained for. That's thank you for being open. So that's true. We don't like small talk. Why? Because an introvert is a mental person, works inside their mind a lot, and they want a meaningful conversation. It's only when it's meaningful that you find their conviction coming through. So they really, the flow starts. In fact, I like that concept so much. I started a group called Beyond Small Talk. And it's really different. When you have such a group, you gather and you know it's a no-no to talk about the weather and football and even politics and war. All of this is useless chatter. We learn nothing, we delve into nothing, we just waste time. And I remember when I went to the Azores, I met with, we were a large group in the same trip, but made friends with a couple, Jewish couple for that matter, but they're Canadian, but like mine. And I remember having Ziad, our youngest son, and his wife now, with us. And after dinner, I would sit with this couple, my wife, and we talk. Usually, I, retire fairly early. But with this couple, because we agreed we'll just go beyond small talk, we'd be talking till 9, 10, 10:30, sometimes 11. And surprisingly, Ziad and his wife would sit with us. They seemed to obviously like the deeper talk than the small talk. And they were saying to me, how come you're still up? And I think it is just rare to find someone where you can have, if you like, meaningful conversations. So that's something you would like. And they know instinctively that small talks blocks true interaction. That's why it's very socially acceptable to say how is, whether it's good or not good, etc. There is no real interaction here, just the time filler. So that's the very first feature. Appear to take too much time, procrastinate, take beyond what is necessary. But that's also a feature, not necessarily a bug. They take time to think thoroughly because it's a mental internal process. They don't want to just jump and give a solution. And other people can get impatient. Why can't you answer me right now? Okay. But this is another feature is once decided, they go flat out. But actually, just before I jump too much, if I go back to that, you can see what an extroverts like to do here. They're really happy to have a small talk about football, especially if they're meeting in a bar or something, talk about the last film they saw, and it goes on, and you think, how long can you talk about meaningless things? You'd be surprised. It can be to the middle of the night. That's perfectly fine. And at the end of it, you ask them, well, what did you learn about the other person? Or was I supposed to learn anything? We just had a good time. So every slide, you will see the opposite, what would be an extrovert. If it's an extreme extrovert, like you said, there is the ambivert in the middle. So some people are neither here or there. Okay, you'll find usually the extroverts like to really act very quickly and react. And they think that is kind of being smart, being very proactive. They also slower to change, okay? They see happenings again as they want to reflect on it. There is no instant reaction to that. This is not all necessarily true with the others. So they prepare, but once they prepare, they go for it fairly flat out. Seem judgmental. Why is that? Who can comment? Zishan, you shook your head. I'm not sure if you meant you have an idea, or why do they seem judgmental? Somebody who is an introvert and they are part of a gathering and they stand there, usually more quiet than the others. Why do they seem judgmental?
Faiz, no idea, but what I think is like maybe if I take myself, if I go to a gathering, I'm not the kind of person who will rush to everyone and talk with everyone. I'll take my time and I'll find a person who I think can be like he's my kind of person, or he talks the way, or that person should have the same kind of interest which I have, so that we can go along and talk about sex. I'm not the kind of person who will just go and start talking with everyone. So maybe in that case I'll be a bit of a judgmental.
Yeah, they seem judgmental. I'm not saying they are judgmental. So in any gathering, the person who is just observing and quiet, by nature, appears to everybody else as, oh, they're observing and judging. But that's their nature. They take it all in, process it, and they may not act on it, etc. They don't have to be judgmental, although they can default to judging. So it is not far-fetched. So as you said, Zisham, before they engage with you, they need to know you well, because they only want meaningful conversation, and you're not going to have a meaningful conversation with a stranger you don't know anything about and suffer at their hand of whatever they will say. So you get to know somebody well, then you're quite happy to go into diverse types of conversations. This makes them seem withdrawn, maybe shy, maybe even rude. Why isn't he saying anything? Why is she just sit there and just watch? We should say something. That's rude. That's not. That's just a nature, and you need to accept it. And that's their preferred mode of operation, introspection. The extrovert isn't necessarily faulty here. It's how, when you have an idea, some of us, the idea pays off when articulated. When it comes out of your mouth, you say it to somebody else, you hear it, and it makes sense to you, or it doesn't. Introvert doesn't do that. The idea swirls inside their head, as this is showing, and then a conclusion is arrived. It's very difficult for a true extrovert to do that. They prefer to voice it, and they hear the voice, and then it makes sense to them. Okay, so it's a different focus altogether. One is internal and one is external. This is important. They follow their heart, not what's popular. And that also sometimes put them in conflict with somebody that is going with the trend. They will just hear you, okay, maybe they feel that way, but that's not how I see it. And sometimes that also opens the door for meaningful conversations. They also excel in certain fields. I hope I'm saying all this is not to shoot down extroverts, but maybe to lessen the stigma around introverts. Introverts have their virtues, and I think as much as extroverts are the life of the party, but introverts also add something somewhere. So what sort of field would an introvert excel in? Sandeep, you're on my screen. What do you think?
First, the introvert usually analyzes whatever he's interacting with the person. And when he analyzes the things, so what you are saying is absolutely right, that he excels in that particular thing, whatever he's thinking at that moment, in that area of business or whatever is in his mind, and he analyzes and has certain conclusion and judgment on that, which might be wrong, which might be right, but that is his convention which makes him excel in his field.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So as they spend a lot of alone time, that can be a plus. A lot of things can't happen in a gathering. It's just too noisy, too distracting, etc. So some feel that alone time is a plus, lend themselves. In fact, if you think scientists, discoverer, so on, they do most of that in alone time. They don't do it in the, buzz. People talk about, oh, we, had that idea and wrote it at the back of a napkin in a pub. That is maybe a story. Reality, that would be very, very difficult. The mind is too busy, too distracted to come up with anything original in a pub. But alone time does allow for that sort of thing. And aloneness helps you come up with ideas, to being creative. Again, you rarely find, let's say, an artist being creative in a busy and noisy environment. So they excel in certain fields when these two features are important. So before I go further, see if I shifted anybody's ideas of introvert, extrovert. So I'm going to ask for a show of hand, first for introvert, then for extrovert. But Satish wants to ask a question, I believe.
Yes, Faiz. Actually, I've been thinking last the Friday, I was in a birthday party of my son's classmate. I met a person there. He appeared to be quite introvert, very quiet and sitting in the corner. Then when I just started talking to him, he gave me the details that I was not even expecting. He started speaking for 1 hour. He was a NYU professor, it seems. So my thought process changed. I thought he was an introvert. But he has been talking to me, giving me all the details, and even he started even talking about his investments, his finance. So I don't know what kind of person is this. Is he an introvert or extrovert?
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm confused actually. He appeared to be a very intelligent person because he has given me. He's a professor. He's given me a lot of details about the students, scholarships, and the way they are teaching, how intelligent students are. So he appeared to be a quite good person and extrovert to me when I started talking to him.
You see, this is where I'm trying to move us away from those definitions. There is a shy person, and he may have a hang-up and self-consciousness. That has nothing to do with introversion, extroversion. So you may be, let's say you're the kind of person who stutters, and you're really conscious of that predicament. That has nothing to do with introversion, extroversion. That's a self-conscious habit that causes trouble. So you watching somebody who doesn't say much, you can't apply those labels. You can only say that person is shy or withdrawn. But now that he spoke to you, and now you figure out the guy is intelligent, and let's be sure, intelligence again is not tracked by introversion, extroversion. Both can be very intelligent. So that's not part of it. But the guy sounds like he was quite shy. And once he felt comfortable, and that gives you a little bit of an indication that he is an introvert, he got comfortable that Satish is the kind of person I feel okay to speak to. And then, obviously, once he started, you're having a hard time getting him to stop. It sounds like an hour is a long, long time. But let me ask you, Satish, are you willing to tell us whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, at least against the criteria we so far discussed?
Faiz, I think I'm ambivert. So because I don't if I go to a crowd which I'm not very comfortable with, I'm a shy person. I keep quiet and now I'm quiet. But if I go to, let's say, a gathering where I know a lot of people are close to me, then I'm all around the place. So that's how I am.
Okay. So I want to encourage you to divorce the word shy from introversion.
Okay.
Shyness is a self-conscious thing, and introversion is all these things we've been discussing. So if a child can be very shy in certain setting, and maybe won't hang on to his mother's skirt or whatever, has nothing to do with introversion, extroversion. Okay, so I'll go back to my let's take a poll here. How many on my screen, and you don't know who's on my screen, so please raise your hand if you now think of yourself as an introvert. No, I think we encouraged a few people to come out and tell us they are. Okay, hands down. Now, how many, and I'm only seeing, I should see 48. I never actually see 48. I don't know why. I thought that has Zoom, how it works. But I think a lot of you switch off your cameras and leave us in the dark. So, how many of you think you're an extrovert now? Okay. Just before we close, I will give you the ultimate test, and you will hopefully be able to test it. I call it the battery test. So we'll see whether you will pass the test or fail the test, and that can tell you once and for all. So, an introvert actively listened. Okay. And that's really important. Introvert isn't so busy talking. He's much more busy introspecting, taking it in. So he thrives on ideas. When you share with him something, he wants to listen to everything you said. And as a result, is very likely to give you healthy, constructive feedback. Now, if he is or she is smart, they will say to you, and I hope you will do it, is, do you want my opinion? Don't go spouting opinions and judgment if nobody asked you. Whether introvert, extrovert, doesn't matter. If somebody's telling you something and they're asking for your opinion, great, you can give it. If not, being quiet is even better. But you can get a very healthy feedback from an introvert. Social exhaustion makes both withdraw, because nobody's 100% extrovert, nobody's 100% introvert. After a while, we've had enough and think, oof, let's get out of here. Okay, but they react to that get out differently. An extrovert don't like it. It goes against their nature, wish they could have stayed longer. An introvert thrives in it. May seem antisocial because he's the first to leave the party. Okay. I'm having to go a little bit faster because we've, I think, crossed our time limit. But I see some people are really attending very well, rapt attention here. So I don't want to shortchange you. In relationship, you're lucky if you have an opposite in your relationship, because there's a lot to learn from an extrovert and vice versa. So the healthiest relationships are a mix. You want to see that, then you bounce from each other, and you learn an awful lot in those. If you have, I'm talking now about a partner or a child, don't force it. It is genetic. You cannot change the person by saying, go out, go talk to people, don't stay at home, don't do this. It is almost harmful. It doesn't do anything, and they're not thankful to you, because when they've done it, they come back and they feel bad, they don't feel energized, and they don't like it. They're cautious by nature. Why? Because they've reflected, they took it in, etc. So they'd rather err on the side of caution And the extrovert wants the dopamine rush, so they will take risks a lot more than an introvert would. Is that they thrive on that, they get a dopamine hit. They're curious by nature, they're always absorbing, thrives on figuring things out. If you're an extrovert, your reaction is, go on, tell me, I don't need to figure anything out. What is it you're, whether it's a puzzle, whether it's a new idea, just tell me what's the whole thing about. And drawn to nature, music, literature. Overanalyze, they get stuck in their head. That can be also costly, because when you have an issue, your thoughts can keep on going round and round and replay. It tires you out. It's the extrovert is blissfully unaware. It goes one ear, comes out of the other, and forget about it. By the following day, the subject is past. The introvert is still going on. So I'm going now to the final analysis. So the best thing is, when you go to a party, gathering, etc., ask yourself at the end of that, are my batteries charged or drained? If you're good at self-observing, you will know, do I feel, and you've had that, and I must admit, even as an introvert, you, at the end of it, think, oh, that was a great party, and you're really chatty and so on. But generally speaking, the batteries, if you're an introvert, are depleted. If you're extrovert, you charge them by interacting with others. So if you use that only one criteria, at the end of an interaction, whether it's even one-on-one, a party or a gathering, are your batteries charged or depleted? Do you ever notice that, or you don't reflect on that? Anil, what do you think? When you get into a gathering, do you walk away with a depleted or charged battery?
It's 50-50, in the sense that I walk in and try to find somebody whom I can relate with and then get open up. Although when I walk in, I'm a slightly shy, I'm more of an introvert, but then I open up, as we go forward.
Okay, so a bit of an ambivert. Rajiv, what do you think?
It depends upon what you drink.
Yeah, I guess that then you're not neither introvert or extrovert, you think. All right. Well, I hope some of this has meant something to you, and try to be more sensitive to the action and reaction when you associate with others. I think this could make life a lot more interesting. Thank you very much.